Hello everybody and welcome to another video. This is part 3 of a big long questions and answers I filmed a while ago now, where I sat down for like 7 hours and just kept answering questions, and I'm continuing to upload them as the weeks go by. I've also told myself that if there's something I could maybe elaborate on a little bit more with certain questions here, I'm just going to edit on that tiny bit of extra information. I think that'll be a fun way to do it. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Hopefully there'll be links somewhere to the original 2-hour video and then the previous one as well, which was 45 minutes. I don't know how long this one's going to get. The footage in the background too is actually all old footage from the channel, which I've kind of just been editing together to give you guys an idea of where I started from and all the different stuff we've done over the past thousands. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy, and let's get crack-a-lacking with the next question, which is William Fedak says, I'm sure this might be tucked away somewhere in your Guild Wars 2 videos, but this is as good a time as any to ask. What server do you play on? And is my guild recruiting? I played Guild Wars 2 religiously since beta, but have stopped since Winter's Day, and the only reason I can find for myself is never finding a good crew of people to play with and get really involved. Yes, my guild does recruit. They're called Never Enough Time. I'm actually following them on Twitter, so if you go to my Twitter, you can tweet them directly there. If you really want to get in, then, you know, feel free, but they don't want the guild to get way too big. They don't want it to be a massive guild, so I've never openly advertised about it, really. There might be better guilds to go to if you want, but, you know, we're a bunch of good friends there, and yes, they do, on occasion, recruit. I'm on Emery Bay as well, that's my server, and now that you can guess, whenever I do, like, a little meet-up thing, you can come over, and we can have a little bit of fun, and it can all be good. Yeah, working on that novel. Lol Circle says, who's your favourite character in the Guild Wars universe? See, that's a funny question to ask me, because if I really think about it, I don't have any favourites necessarily, like you'd have a favourite character in a TV show or something, because you agree with their motivations or their personality or who they are, you know, on some fundamental level. I don't really feel that for any Guild Wars 2 character. You ask me that question, and my mind jumps to two types of characters. One, characters that are really mysterious, like Ivinia going missing, for example, or Raza, the mysterious demon creation from the mists that travelled with the hero of Nightfall from 250 years ago, and should, in theory, still be around on Tyria. We have no idea where he is. Or, you know, other massive kind of big lore mystery characters like Baltec, stuff like that, right? So I can't really say that they're my favourite character in the way that I think you're looking for a response, but then the only other characters that I find to be cool aren't necessarily mysterious, but again, it's just that they have interesting places in the lore. Like, I like Althea as a character. We never really got to know her, but I like the role she plays in the story of Prophecies, how she died and kind of had this big impact on Rurik, presumably anyway. You have to extrapolate a lot with her. But then maybe her father as well, you know, Duke Barradin. He's a pretty interesting character too, because of his position in lore and how he was going to be like the true guy to the throne, and how maybe Ascalon's history would be very different right now had he come to his throne. Maybe the Guild Wars would have stopped and the humans would have kept the Char out and we wouldn't be playing as Char in Guild Wars 2. You know, that's interesting stuff, and they're cool characters, but they're not really favourite characters of mine that I can really say. You know, Barradin in particular, actually, my account name, I don't know, a lot of you guys have added me, and I encourage anybody to add me in game if you want to. Trust me, my follower list is plenty long. I don't find it to be stalkerish or weird at all. But if you have done that, you'll probably notice my account name in Guild Wars 2 is Barradin, and that's kind of one of the names recently I've taken up on certain forums and stuff. So, yeah, I quite like Barradin, and for some reason I've picked him above all other characters. But in a way that you're traditionally looking for, I think a lot of people liked like Tybalt from the Order of Whispers stuff. I think he's probably the only character that really resonated with people in quite a strong way and was quite good, and he really kind of had his own niche. He had humour about him, he had things that were important to him, he had stuff that you could relate to him, and he was a cool character and people liked him. But whether I personally was I mean, I could appreciate that he was a good character, but I didn't really engage myself with him much. I quite like Traherne as well, but I find it so funny how people just hate what Traherne's role was in the story. I don't need to be the hero for it to be a good story. You know, I think it's more realistic if we're not the hero, because not everybody in the real world becomes one. And I don't think he takes credit for everything we do necessarily. In fact, there's quite a few scenes in the game where he's specifically saying, I'm not really taking credit for you here, and he always puts you on a pedestal whenever he can. So I don't know, I quite like Traherne. I'm going to poke the beehive. Traherne is my favourite character in the Guild Wars universe. The next question may have been marked as spam. Have you ever watched My Little Pony Friendship is Magic? 2 questions on that. No, I haven't. Sorry. I was already asked if I was a Brody earlier. What's my favourite places people in any game? It be in the Guild Wars universe, Mass Effect, Grimrock, or anything. How do you know I played Mass Effect? See, I don't even remember mentioning that. My favourite places or people in any game. I always like places that are like water themed, like Super Mario Sunshine. I loved. I know that it was a bit of a departure, and people look at it as the worst main series Mario game. I loved Super Mario Sunshine's just themes, just the beaches and the water and stuff. Whenever there's like a tropical place like that, I tend to really enjoy it. Like for Guild Wars, Nightfall, the Matani Keys I used to really like. Another game that really sticks with me and I very much enjoyed was Final Fantasy X. And the first thing, I don't know why, that just came to my mind for a small place that I really enjoyed. There was a place where you got one of the celestial sigils in that game, one of the things for like the final weapons, basically. It was in like this hidden little bay around the corner on a beach where you first wash up in the game, basically. And that was a really tranquil, nice little place to go to. So I don't know, I always enjoy the kind of beachy areas, the places that seem all hot, and it might just be because I've lived in England for so long and I don't go abroad on holiday enough. Could be that. My favourite people in any game, I don't know, I couldn't tell you. It's like I said originally when I was asked for my favourite game, it changes too frequently. It really does. There are some really interesting characters that you come across sometimes that turn out to be assholes. I always like people that double cross me. And I always like to find redeeming stuff in generally negative characters. Similar question here. Asuna17 says, what was the most beautiful, heartbreaking, infuriating, generally awe-inspiring video game moments you've ever encountered? I mean, Jesus. Recently, The Walking Dead, as I say, I would put some moments on that as my most heartbreaking. I think the more interesting one here is infuriating moments. I played a lot of League of Legends. That really pissed me off, some parts of playing League of Legends. I think in general that's just a game that brings out the worst in people. And I'm generally really nice in communities and stuff, but because you take constant flack and everybody's giving each other shit all the time, I'll hold my hands up. I started dealing it myself while I was playing the game. It turns you into horrible, horrible people. So League of Legends was quite infuriating. There have been mini games and stuff. Still thinking about Final Fantasy X here. Some of those Celestial Sigil things were ridiculously annoying to get. You had to dodge like 200 lightning strikes in a row. There was a bit where you had to do a mini game where you had to pop all these bubbles but not hit any birds that would just come flying out of nowhere at you. That was just incredibly frustrating. There's been a lot of really... I also played a lot of Halo as well. Halo 3 in particular was kind of my biggest stint of online plays with Halo. That was really frustrating. I had some frustrating moments when I was really into PvP over the past few months for Guild Wars 2. I had some really frustrating moments when kind of there were rival teams that it would go one way or the other if you fight like who would win. And I used to get so pissed off if I made a mistake, somebody got me, and we both knew that I just like messed up badly. The worst thing was as well with Guild Wars 2, I was always playing with my commander on, so I always had that little thing on my bar, and you'd always get some cocky asshole being like, "Oh, not much of a commander, are you?" Like, because there's such a snooty, horrible attitude about PvE players in the PvP community, which I detest. But people would say that, and I remember one guy said that at one point. I was like, I hate you. I know I can kill you. You're not better than me. So yeah, PvP stuff is always infuriating to me. Kier Keith asked, what's the music I used for in this video? I'm not sure because I'm not playing it at the moment, but it could have been what I used to use at the start of the old jumping puzzle videos. Which, yeah, when I saw that as well, I got kind of nostalgic as well when I used that in one of my recent videos. TJB Westlake says, should I bake or roast a turtle? Roast? You should get like one of those giant turtles, because I saw an episode of QI where they were talking about turtles that never got named or something, I think, because people were eating them. They never got back to London to be named and put in museums and stuff. People just kept eating them because they were delicious. So, yeah, apparently. But generally, I really want a turtle as a pet as well. They're so cool. I have an ex that had, I think her grandparents had a turtle as a pet that always sounded really fun to me. Or a tortoise, sorry, I should say. I can't get those wrongs. Kjoster says, what needs to happen in Guild Wars 2 in order for you to see yourself still playing in, let's say, 6 months? Oh, I want to say nothing. That they don't need to do any updates. I'll still be playing in 6 months. But that's probably not true. They just need to keep doing what they're currently doing. More fractals would be fantastic. More ascended gear to be able to get. The legendary scavenger hunt, please. I don't care how difficult it is. Just give it to us so we can actually start earning our legendaries without spending a ridiculous amount of money on precursors. I do think precursor price is just ridiculous at the moment because that's just one of 4 components you need for a legendary item, and it's way inflated beyond the others at the moment. Well, maybe not the Gift of Fortune, but it's way inflated. So yeah, it's a tricky line here because you can say a lot of stuff that would just be what you want to happen, not what needs to happen to keep me playing. there's still a lot I haven't done. You know, there's still a lot more characters I can play through the game on, which if I really want to, I can. But, you know, dailies, as I say, I've slipped with my dailies recently. I used to do them all the time for achievement points mainly. I really like having a lot of achievement points. But now I'm not so interested. So, I don't know, 6 months is a long time in some ways and a short time in others. But, yeah, just keep going as they're going, as long as I can keep doing content on it and talking about stuff. Some nice new bits of the lore. And I think that'll be enough to suffice. Obviously, I would love 3 expansions to come out at the same time, but it's not going to happen, is it? I will add here too, actually, that these recent updates with namely the fact now we can see titles under people's names has been awesome. I found myself playing a lot more just for titles now. Like, titles really feel like they are something to go for, even though a lot of the titles are kind of duds at the moment. I think they really made a big step with that tiny little tweak to the UI, which is awesome, but also in some ways a little bit depressing that this very basic thing they could have done when the game launched, and we probably would have had a much more thriving community right now, especially for the PvP scene as well. Having those titles under there is really nice. I used to play with a guy in PvP who would always notice when someone was like a ransacker or had an even better title than that, and I would never notice that stuff, and he'd be like, oh look, this person's actually got this, and it was such a shame back then to me that there were these cool titles and I was always missing them, and it was rare to find anybody who was noticing, like this guy I was playing with. And now that's not a problem, and now especially for PvP with those titles, there's a much stronger sense of finding something prestigious there now, which, as I probably mentioned in one of the previous Q&As I did, is really needed. That's one of the things that's killing PvP at the moment, that there aren't any strong incentives or prestige to go for, and just this tiny title thing's been amazing. So to tie this to the question of why I would keep playing in 6 months, very little now, because there are all these titles that suddenly, for a player like me who really wants to get all this stuff, now I have a strong reason to do it. So they've really helped themselves out there, honestly. Once that's all in place, the titles, the achievement points, and the dailies, they're all going to be tying together really nicely, really strongly, and it's a reason for people to keep playing the game, frankly, without any new content, just because we want to do our dailies so we can get the achievement points, so that we can get the goodies, and that's cool. I like it. It's fun and easy for ArenaNet to maintain. Kenji Trati Kojima, I'm so sorry, that sounds like a legitimate name as well. Congratulations for the milestone. Say, how old are you? Yeah, the first person to ask that. Also, would you rather do a Char or a Sylvari? Do, as in shag? See, my answer is Sylvari, but that puts me in a weird kind of camp with lots of other people. Maybe I don't want to be in. I'll be 22 in May, and I feel old. I hate it. Like, I should be young and youthful, but I feel old, and I feel like I'm stagnating, and I hate that my mind is clearly slower than it used to be. It takes me longer to conjure up information, and I miss that so dearly. But yeah, I'm still young, and I just need to keep telling myself I'm young and that life is long and there's plenty of time to do other stuff. But yeah, I'll be 22 in May. What do you think of all the newer updates? So the living story and guild missions, etc. Also, do you play many other games aside from your current LPs and Guild Wars? I'm playing at the moment Pokemon Heart Gold. I'm playing Torchlight at the moment. I played Trine 2 just before that, which I suppose, I don't know, that didn't take very long to play. I play a lot of browser-based games as well while I'm bored. So yeah, a fair bit alongside my current LP and Guild Wars. What do I think of the living story? I think it's good, but, well, you can watch those videos to get my true opinions on them. I think it's good, but there needs to be more, and they say that they want to put more in, so that's all we can say for now. When I originally answered this question, I hadn't done any guild missions. I had been keeping up to date with them, but I hadn't done any. I have participated in only a guild bounty so far, but it was a lot of fun, actually. I really do like the mechanics that they put in. They kind of embraced aspects of guild bounties that sound probably on paper like they're not going to be fun, like this whole idea of going out and scouting all of the enemies around. That sounds kind of not very fun, because what is the gameplay there? Oh, it's just walking in a big loop until you find the boss and standing there while you wait for your guild to get everything sorted. But actually, when you're there and you're experiencing it and you're playing the guild, this is just for the bounties anyway, because I haven't done the other guild mission stuff, but when you're doing that and experiencing it, it feels really fun. It's a really cooperative way to play with your guild. You really do feel like one part of the larger machine that is your guild, trying to figure this out. And, you know, especially for doing the later tiers as well, like tier 3 bounties and stuff, these are actually reasonably difficult things to do. Not for the massive mega guilds, but then even for the really big guilds, it's still kind of difficult just getting the logistics of working out who's going where and what's happening. So I think that they've been done really well. The bounties were a lot of fun, and I think that the other guild missions too look like they're going to be an absolute blast as well. Now, I am aware that when they originally came out, a lot of people were kind of, well, not a lot of people, but some people were upset that essentially that they were favouring large guilds and small guilds couldn't really do much. In principle, I can kind of see what people are saying, but also at the same time, I think Guild Wars 2 is a game where you can be in multiple guilds at once, and I don't really think it's that too much of a legitimate thing to complain about, saying, oh, they favour large guilds. You can't do guild missions if you're in a small guild. I don't really think that's much of a problem, because you can be in multiple guilds at once, so they're not telling you you have to leave your small group of friends with your other people. They're just encouraging you to interact with the larger community and at least get some small foothold in one of the larger guilds. That's the whole point of the Guild Wars 2 guild system. So I actually think they're kind of encouraging that and showing off this positive aspect that guilds have in the game, and I quite liked it. Though, having said all of that, even though I do think that they were illegitimate complaints, ArenaNet have obviously listened, haven't they? And they've started to add stuff for smaller guilds. So, you know, they're really trying to please everyone. And I think they're doing very well. For the guild missions, definitely. I just wish that I'd experienced more of it for myself, but I've got no one to blame there except for myself. I just need to get in game a bit more and play with my guild when they're going on instead of the super action box, which is all I'm doing at the moment. Where do I live? Do I have a PO box to send awesome stuff to? Ooh, awesome stuff. Don't worry. I'm not going to say exactly where I live. I find it a bit weird when people are accepting donations and stuff. Funnily enough, on like my 20th, 30th video ever while I was still Let's Playing Guild Wars Prophecies, I had barely any subscribers. You have to understand, I put out about 100 videos before I even had my first 50 subs. I didn't get 50 subs until I was on Guild Wars Factions in the Jade Sea, okay? I didn't have many subs for a very long time, but way back then, even before this happened, I had some guy that was like, hey, you're doing really awesome stuff, I really appreciate what you're doing, and was just like honestly asking me, hey, can I get like an address to send money to and all this stuff, and I was like, it really blew me away. It was very weird, and I thought, oh my god, I'm already getting stuff like that. So I've always said no to it though, because you know, this is just something I do for fun in my free time, and it gets a bit weird as well. Like, you see, there are some girls on the internet that accept stuff, and then it gets to a really weird point where just everybody is showering them with gifts, and it gets too long making videos about it and stuff. So I wouldn't feel right with it. So thank you anyway, but no, I'm getting by just fine. Would you be interested, says 187657, says, would you be interested in doing a Guild Wars 2 machinima, or machinima in any other game for that matter, if they put in the facilities for it, of course, namely a first-person mode? Oh, I need first-person mode so much. You know what I was talking about with the Oculus Rift? If they put in a first-person mode, oh man, I would love to play Guild Wars 2 with the Oculus, like just literally be warped into Tyria. They say one thing about the Oculus is you get a real sense of scale of how big things are that you never truly appreciate while you're just looking at a screen, and that makes you feel sick when you look over mountainsides, and it makes you feel small and intimidated when you look up at like the grand size of the Dermot Priory. And there's so much diversity in the scale of things in the Guild Wars 2 game that I would love to have it, but I don't think they'll ever add a first person mode. If they did, then they would have at launch, and it's a real shame. It's a real shame. I hate that they didn't put in a first-person mode, because I loved it in Guild Wars 1. If you ever watch those original videos, I was always in first-person, much to many people's chagrin. Would I be considered in doing a machinima should they add stuff like that? I think it could be interesting, but I've got no good ideas for what machinima could be on in the Guild Wars universe. Like, I'm fascinated by creative works such as Tyria, but I'm not a I hate to say it out loud. I think I am a creative person, but I don't think I would put the energy into making a machinima. Let me put it that way. I think maybe that could be what changes people from being creative people into not creative people as well. They just can't be bothered, which is a sad fact. But yeah, so it would be interesting if I had a great idea. When I used to mod Oblivion, I loved the idea of doing a total conversion of the game to map Guild Wars 1 Nightfall, and you could just play it in the Elder Scrolls engine, except it would be really long and expanded, and there'd be all these different quests and stuff that I could add. I don't think it's quite my cup of tea. It would take a full-blown theatre mode for me to feel like I could really accomplish something. Because if I had an idea of a machinima I wanted to do, I would want to have so much stuff to do it justice, it probably wouldn't be worth it in the end, because I doubt they would add that kind of stuff. Number one, NT number one says, I have two questions. Raids, do you think there'd be a right in the game or not? Obviously, they don't have any gear grind whatsoever. I mentioned this before. Yeah, I think that this kind of exclusive idea for the really hardcore players, the people that are playing a lot, things that they can only do on a rare occasion, and there's a high chance of failure, and there's lots of tension, there are nerves, and there's lots of people that have to come together, and yes, it creates these terrible, videos where people are screaming about having more dots and stuff, but also it's fantastically exciting and thrilling when you complete. I think that kind of content is missing in Guild Wars 2. I don't think it's punishing enough in some areas. So yeah, I think I would enjoy them, but it's not a game built for them, and I don't think they'll ever be there. This is what I'm talking about. I'm not in the, this is one example of where I'm not in Guild Wars 2's demographic. I don't think that they would ever really put them in. The March, it goes against too many of their philosophies. It's why they won't. Well, actually, did they talk about maybe adding World First at some point? See, they could do so much stuff if they added competitive things like that, but I don't think they will. The March update, do you think it will contain the necessary PvP content and tools with the game to give some PvP some wings? No, I don't, as I say, because I don't think that it will succeed truly unless we get the Heart of the Mist free to play. Yeah, so there you go. I've already elaborated on that stuff before. AQ Fulmo says, what is the most fun I've had making all my videos? Oh, that's difficult. See, I think some of my best videos, aside from the lore series, I think some of my best videos are when something terrible happens to me. Going back to the Guild Wars 1 stuff, again, I'm talking about it so much, but Jesus. Like when I would die at the very end of an elite area. Oh my god, it was the most painful, horrible thing for me in the world. But because of that lovely old German concept of taking pleasure in someone else's pain, looking back, there's some of my funniest, most enjoyable videos to have made. There's different steps of it. You can really relax and have a really pleasant time filming, but then the resulting video is not that good, it doesn't get much traction, and that's about it. Or you can put a lot of effort into something that no particular moment of it was very fun, but you get really nice feedback from it, and interesting discussions come from it. And those can be really enjoyable in that aspect. So it's hard to say. I do remember once, though, with my Tomb Raider Legend LP, I really relaxed. It was when I was in the England level, or at least the first batch I did of the England level. I recorded that, and I came away from filming that, and I don't know why, but with this elated feeling, like it was the perfect video I'd done, like ever. I'd rolled from topic to topic perfectly. I'd mixed in just enough stuff about my real life. I just felt really happy about that video, and nobody took it any differently to any other video I've ever done. But I remember finishing filming that and thinking, that was really fun. I really enjoyed that, so maybe that's the one. It's not a particularly interesting video though. Send Me On My Way says, what gave you a better first impression of Guild Wars 1 or 2? And which do you prefer of the two, taking everything into consideration? Granted, Guild Wars 2 is new and obviously has less content, but as a game, what do you think? I think Guild Wars 2 will be, once it's had the years and once people have built the memories, it will be the better game. I'm not convinced Guild Wars 2 will ever grow to be bigger than it was at launch. I'm not convinced by that at all. Maybe if PvP took off through the ways I've described, PvE would get some traction alongside it somehow, maybe. I think that once they are fully born, once Guild Wars 2's had the years that Guild Wars 1 had, it will by far be the better game. A, because we've all aged, time's gone along, Guild Wars 1 looks dated now, but B, because the general level of interaction you have with the game while in combat and while running around in Guild Wars 2 is far higher than in Guild Wars 1. The first game was very much, once you got to a certain point, it was you either have a good build, either have a good team set up, and everything is face rollable, or you have a really shitty one, and everything's really difficult, if not impossible, and frustrating. Guild Wars 2 is not like that at all, and that is for the better. Just general combat, the dodging, the everything about combat and exploration in Guild Wars 2, while perhaps feeling less rewarding, is a way more engaging and interesting game. So yeah, I think you just got to give Guild Wars 2 the time. As I say though, comparing my experience of the two games, it's apples and oranges so far. AQ Fulmo asks again, was there ever a time when I wanted to stop making videos? Not really. I've had I had that little break over Christmas. There's been times where I've got quite, annoyed about videos. Like I put a lot of effort maybe into something and it didn't come out of, nothing really came of it. The website irritates me a little bit. It irritates me that the most popular and successful people on here are just screaming into their microphones, and not really putting any effort in at all, and they just get loads. And I think some people might take me at face value as well and think that I don't put any effort in and I'm just an accent and that's it. But a lot of effort does go into this stuff, and it can feel kind of annoying when somebody's left a comment somewhere that they don't expect you to read it. Like, people say stuff about me on Reddit all the time. I always shudder a little bit when someone posts something I've done onto Reddit. It always makes me worry because people over there don't care, really. And there's always comments and stuff that can get you slightly down. People are anonymous. They can say what they want, and at the end of the day, you have to learn to deal with that. But, that little stuff is minor. I've always enjoyed making videos. I've always enjoyed putting them out. It's not just kind of a means to an end for me. It's something that I enjoy doing. And when I took that break, I never sat down for one day and thought, I don't want to do videos anymore. I never sat down and thought, I don't want to do a video today. In fact, I can guarantee to you that every day that I wasn't doing a video, I was waking up in that morning thinking, should I make a video today? Or what can I make a video on? But it was just coming up empty on what I thought would be good enough. And the main problem is as well, for me, if I've not done any videos for a while, I feel like if I'm going to start again, it has to be something really good. It's going to have to be something that grabs people. And the truth is, they don't care about that, really. I think people just want something to watch, someone's company to share in. And that really kind of weighed on top of me. So no, there's never been a time where I wanted to stop making videos. In the future, maybe eventually one day, this would never happen, but even if there came a day where I would hate video games, and that's all I'm built on here, I would still probably want to make videos. It's like I said, I'd love to do videos with me going out and geocaching and stuff. One big ambition of mine that I don't know whether I'll ever be able to do is I'd love to hike along, and I'm probably going to say it wrong, the Appalachian Trail. It's like this long-ass hiking route from basically south to north of the United States that looks just like this incredible adventure and fun thing to do that I'd love to do, and I'd love to bring a camera along and make videos about it. I'd love to share those experiences. There's a thing with me, I think, and this is a bit of a depressing thought, and I don't know whether many other people come out with this, but if I'm, say, having a shower or a bath or something, and I'm just thinking about stuff, I'm thinking about my life, anything, there's always niggling in the back of my head. I'm always thinking, this is going to sound really depressing, whatever you think in your head but don't express is pointless. If you don't impact someone's life or have some small scratch, some small mark on the world with your thoughts, then they will forever only be in your head, and they'll be lost to the histories and the times, and it will all be meaningless. So what's the point in thinking about something if it doesn't affect something, if it doesn't create some kind of legacy for you? And that sounds weird. I'm not I'm not a Norn that strives for a legacy, but it's this interesting perspective I think I have that if you're not making something of yourself that impacts your family, your friends, or anything, if you don't give some opinion out, then it's wasted, and it's something that will be forgotten and never known. So making videos is a really good way to express yourself and make that stuff known. Even if, like, for example, with me, when I first started with Guild Wars 1, as I say, it took me a long time to get any subs. I was going months and months on, less than 50 views, less than 10 views for a long time as well, And that was fine for me, though, back then, because I was still sharing with someone. Someone had been impacted by one of these thoughts I'd had. And that's a really comforting and nice feeling, and that's a big part of me. I want to share this stuff. So, yeah, even if my interests changed, I would love to be able to share as much as I possibly can. There's a limit. I'd never become one of these people that just live streams their whole life 24 hours a day. That's crazy, but you know what I mean. I don't think I'd ever want to stop making videos, no matter what else about me changes. I think this has always been a constant belief of mine or thought of mine that will never go away, and making videos is a wonderful way to express myself and share that. Captain TA Awesome says, what's your favourite part of Guild Wars 2, whether it being a race, class, dungeon, mob, map, or anything else? Well, that's another vague question as well. These questions are too easy to ask, guys. They're too easy. They're too hard to answer. No, it's a favourite. I don't know. There's loads of stuff I like. I love the Tengu, but do I love them more than the way the last room looks at the end of the Citadel of Flames Path 2? I don't know. I'm sorry. It's too vague. I like a lot of stuff about the game, and I could do series and series and series and not cover it all. Hockey11200 says, what's my favourite 5-man group composition? I don't really have a favourite group composition. I've never thought of it. I think all of one profession runs could be interesting, quite fun. Elementalist and PvP, you could do all 5 Elementalist groups, and they were quite funny because they're kind of jacks of all trades. Ride the Lightning in some ways is incredibly overpowered because it just lets you get away from any encounter you could possibly want. And, you know, aura sharing and stuff was always very strong. So, I don't know, that's the most experience I've ever had with playing with that, though. If I'm doing something, I might be pugging it, or I'll just be taking the kind of casual people that are in the guild, and we just have what we have. If you could add anything to Guild Wars 2, what would it be? And what's your favourite colour? You could come out with lots of grand plans about things that you would add to Guild Wars 2. Oh, I would add a whole expansion that adds the rest of the world. Done. No, I think a realistic thing that I would love to add would be, you know, the experience system that gives you more experience, bonus experience for killing mobs that have been on the world for a long time and haven't been killed by anyone else. Take that same concept and apply it to dynamic events. Actually, first take that concept and raise the amount of experience that mobs give by like loads, so it's actually, you know, something people care about again. And also apply it to events for karma, gold, and experience you get from events. So people are seeking out events all around the world. That one change would just massively improve where people want to go around the world, because if the gold and stuff scales enough and those incentives suddenly are there, then people want to seek out the stuff that hasn't been experienced for a long time. And just in that one change, the ArenaNet have spread people across the world significantly, and you could create these little parties of people that are going from all these places you usually haven't been for a long time, like the Brisbane Wildlands, and doing all old meta events. That would be brilliant. ArenaNet have been making a lot of good pushes, namely with what they've done with the dragon chests and stuff recently to get people around the world, but I've always seen what I just explained as a very easy, small way to do that without much hassle, really. Okay, guys, I've made a decision. Each episode from now on of this Q&A is going to be half an hour long. I think that's a nice way to do it. So we're half an hour right now. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time. Because they're only going to be half an hour, they'll probably come out a lot more frequently too. Especially because I've got a huge backlog of other videos that I've been making that's really kind of freed me up. So anyway, yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys. Let me know what you think about any of my answers. Did you agree? Did you disagree? And I will catch you next time. So see yous.